In the heart of the desert lies a city carved not by time, but by men. Palaces hewn from mountains, walls cut from stone, and people who believed their strength was eternal. They defied their prophet, they challenged their Lord, and in just 3 days their pride crumbled into silence. This is the story of Thamud, the people of the mountains, and the lesson they left behind for all of us. If you're moved by stories of the prophets that awaken faith and stir the soul, don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey. Each story is a reminder carved into history, waiting for your heart to hear it.
Chapter 1. The Mountain Carvers.
Long before cities of steel and glass, there was Al-Hijr, the dazzling jewel of the tribe of Thamud. To the weary traveler crossing sand dunes, the city would rise suddenly from the horizon, its homes not built from wood or mud, but hewn straight from mountains. Approaching the valley was like stumbling upon a crown made of rock. Sandstone cliffs towered high, their faces carved into doorways, balconies, and arches. Palaces peered out like watchful eyes, majestically gazing across the plains. As dawn crept in, the desert's silence would be broken with iron striking stone. The chisels rang endlessly, crack, clang, echo. To some it was music, to others, the bellowing heartbeat of pride. These were not nomads nor wanderers. They were a settled, thriving community, skilled, strong, unafraid of the desert's hardship. Cool springs burst from beneath the ground, feeding lush gardens, palm trees with heavy dates, vineyards winding up the terraces, fields stretching green against the yellow-orange sand. Their wells never seemed to run dry. The people of Thamud cherished their power. Their farms produced food scarce elsewhere. Their homes, carved into stone, looked as if they'd last forever. Other tribes spoke of them with awe and even envy. With every glance at the cliffs they had conquered, their arrogance deepened. Some would boast mockingly, "These mountains are our fortresses. Who can touch us now?" But their wealth brought not humility, only pride. Their hands carved idols as skillfully as they carved palaces, lifeless statues that sat in their proud homes. Day by day, their hearts hardened until they resembled the very rock they shaped. And Allah, the Most High, described them in His revelation.
وَتَنْحِتُونَ مِنَ الْجِبَالِ بُيُوتًا فَارِهِينَ.
And you hew out houses in the mountains with great skill. Quran 26:150. Chapter 2. A Voice of Reason.
Among the Thamud lived a man unlike the rest. His name was Ṣāliḥ ibn Ubayd, respected long before prophethood. He was noble, trustworthy, wise. When disputes arose, they often turned to him. When he spoke, men quieted their laughter. Then came the day when Allah chose him as His messenger. The revelation weighed itself in his heart. Call your people away from their idols. Remind them of the one who created them. He stood among them. His voice was not filled with anger, but heavy with longing, hope, and faith. He cried out,
وَإِلَى ثَمُودَ أَخَاهُمْ صَالِحًا قَالَ يَا قَوْمِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مَا لَكُمْ مِنْ إِلَٰهٍ غَيْرُهُ هُوَ أَنشَأَكُم مِّنَ الْأَرْضِ وَاسْتَعْمَرَكُمْ فِيهَا فَاسْتَغْفِرُوهُ ثُمَّ تُوبُوا إِلَيْهِ إن ربي قريب مجيب.
And to the tribe of Thamud we send their brother Ṣāliḥ. He said, O my people, worship Allah. You have no God but Him. He raised you up from the earth and settled you therein. So ask forgiveness of Him, then turn to Him wholeheartedly. Verily, my Lord is nigh and answers prayers.
For a moment silence fell. Some hearts stirred. Some wondered if perhaps this trusted, truthful man was onto something. But the chiefs, the men of ego who feared losing authority, laughed with scorn. One stood forth, his voice booming so all could hear.
قالوا يا صالح قد كنت فينا مرجوا قبل هذا أتنهانا أن نعبد ما يعبد آباؤنا وإننا لفي شك مما تدعونا إليه مريب.
They said, O Ṣāliḥ, thou wast among us one in whom we placed our hopes. Dost thou forbid us to worship what our fathers worshipped? And we are surely in disquieting doubt concerning that to which thou callest us. Quran Hud 1162.
The crowd jeered, hesitant yet emboldened by their leaders. To follow Ṣāliḥ meant abandoning their pride, their heritage, their stone idols that glimmered in the torchlight. To listen required humility, and pride does not bend easily.
Chapter 3. The Sign from the Stone.
The chiefs began plotting. If he claims to be from God, then let him prove it in a way none can deny. They gathered people, pointed to a massive boulder, its shadow looming. Sneering, one scoffed, "Bring from this lifeless stone a living creature, a she-camel, full grown and pregnant." The crowd erupted in laughter. The demand was absurd, but Ṣāliḥ did not argue. He turned away from them, raised his hands and prayed, his heart firmly tethered to Allah. Then it happened. The air thickened, trembling with a strange hum. The ground shook until pebbles rattled at their feet. The enormous rock quivered, as if alive. Gasps silenced laughter. A crack burst across the boulder, wider and wider, until with a deafening sound, it split apart. From deep inside, stepping into sunlight, emerged a massive she-camel, her hide glistening, her stride noble, her breath misting in the desert air. Pregnant, just as they had mockingly demanded. The crowd fell into stunned silence. What had been a joke was now a trembling reality before their eyes. Ṣāliḥ declared firmly, with awe in his voice,
وإلى ثمود أخاهم صالحا قال يا قوم اعبدوا الله ما لكم من إله غيره قد جاءتكم بينة من ربكم هذه ناقة الله لكم آية فذروها تأكل في أرض الله ولا تمسوها بسوء فيأخذكم عذاب أليم.
And to Thamud we sent their brother Ṣāliḥ. He said, O my people, worship Allah. You have no other deity but Him. Verily, there has come to you a clear evidence from your Lord, this she-camel of Allah, a sign for you. So leave her that she may feed in Allah's earth, and do her no harm, lest a painful punishment seize you. Quran Al-A'raf 774. Chapter 4. The Camel of God.
Silent wonder filled the valley. Men and women who once shouted in mockery now stood frozen. Even the stubborn chiefs blinked in disbelief, their eyes darting from the massive camel to each other, unsure whether to admit what their hearts whispered. This was no trick. This was a miracle. Yet a miracle is more than spectacle. It is also a test. Ṣāliḥ's voice rang clear, explaining the command of Allah.
ولا تمسوها بسوء فيأخذكم عذاب يوم عظيم.
He said, "Here is a she-camel. She has her turn of drinking, and you have your turn of drinking on an appointed day." Quran 26:156.
The terms were simple. On one day, the she-camel would drink her fill from the well, and on the next day, the people could drink without her. No fighting, no envy, just patience and fairness. But Allah's mercy was even greater than his test. On the days she drank, she produced milk enough for every family, enough for every child's thirst to be quenched. It was as though Allah himself provided food and drink from the impossible. Children marveled at her towering frame, clinging to her shadow for shade. Herds scattered when she strode, for she was unmatched among animals. The believers looked upon her with awe, a walking, breathing proof of God's power. But the arrogant leaders looked at her with growing resentment. For the longer she stayed, the longer their power weakened. How could they deny the call of Ṣāliḥ when a living miracle moved her gentle cries across the valleys? Her very existence challenged their pride, every moment a silent mocking of their idols. Jealousy brewed, hatred festered, and dark whispers began to pass from tongue to tongue.
Chapter 5. The Red Line.
Among the leaders of the Thamud, patience ran out. At first they mocked, then they ignored. But now the she-camel had become too much, a living rebuke they could not silence. Whispers stirred in the night. A small group gathered in secret corners of carved halls. "Is this not too much?" one spat. "This animal has taken over our well. Our people mock us, whispering, 'Can your gods bring signs like hers?'" Another hissed, "If Ṣāliḥ cannot be silenced, then we silence her." So the plot was struck. The most corrupt and cruel among them, 9 men, known in the city for their wickedness, took upon themselves the mission. And on a dark evening, when shadows stretched long across the sand, they ambushed her. With merciless hands, they hamstrung the she-camel, the very miracle Allah had sent. The ground shook, not with divine thunder this time, but with the cries of horror from those who believed, and the triumphant roars of those who didn't. And in the Quran, Allah summed up this crime with devastating brevity.
فكذبوه فعقروها فدمدم عليهم ربهم بذنبهم فسواها.
But they rejected him and hamstrung her, so their Lord destroyed them completely because of their sin, and made it, destruction, overtake all of them alike. Quran Ash-Shams 91:15.
فعقروها فقال تمتعوا في داركم 3 أيام ذلك وعد غير مكذوب.
But they hamstrung her. Then he said, "Enjoy yourselves in your houses for 3 days. This is a promise, which is not a lie." Quran Hud 1166.
3 days. Their clock of arrogance began to tick, each sunrise and sunset drawing them closer to judgment.
Chapter 6. The Cry from the Heavens.
The people of Thamud laughed at the words of their prophet. 3 days. 3 days, he says, let us eat, drink, and rejoice then. But time is not in man's hands. On the first day, their faces paled to yellow, like withering leaves. Laughter faltered. On the second day, their faces turned red, like the blood they had spilled. Whispered anxiety spread through the city. On the third, their faces blackened, dark as ash. Children wailed, hearts pounded, fear cloaked the streets. They knew the end had come. At dawn, in the chilling silence, it struck. The punishment was not a sword, nor a flood, nor a mighty army. It was a sound, a single cry, mighty, shaking, ripping the air in two. A blast so fierce it shattered every vein of arrogance, every stubborn heartbeat. The proud people of Thamud fell in their homes, struck lifeless where they sat. Their carved fortresses turned into their tombs. Allah describes it.
وأخذ الذين ظلموا الصيحة فأصبحوا في ديارهم جاثمين.
And punishment overtook those who had done wrong, and they lay prostrate in their houses. Quran Hud 1168.
An entire civilization, people of skill, wealth, strength, erased in a breath. Only Ṣāliḥ and those who believed with him were saved. As Ṣāliḥ looked upon the ruins of his people, grief etched itself into his heart. He turned away whispering,
فتولى عنهم وقال يا قوم لقد أبلغتكم رسالة ربي ونصحت لكم ولكن لا تحبون الناصحين.
Then Ṣāliḥ turned away from them and said, O my people, I did deliver the message of my Lord unto you, and offered you sincere counsel, but you love not sincere counselors. Quran Al-A'raf 780.
The city of stone became a city of silence.
Chapter 7. The Echo in the Stone.
Generations passed. The world changed. But the carved homes of Thamud remained as though the hammers had struck them yesterday. Walls perfectly cut, palaces still standing. Yet no voices filled the halls, no laughter echoed in the courtyards. Only desert winds carried the tale of pride that led to ruin. Centuries later, the final prophet, Muhammad peace be upon him, marched with his companions toward Tabuk. When they reached the haunting ruins of Al-Hijr, the messenger of Allah peace be upon him warned them sternly. As reported in Sahih al-Bukhari,
the Prophet peace be upon him said, Do not enter the dwellings of those who wrong themselves unless you enter weeping, lest the same afflictions strike you that struck them. Then he covered his head and hastened his pace until he had left the valley.
The ruins were not monuments for tourism. They were tombs of arrogance. They were warnings carved in stone. It is as though every doorway calls out, "Pride cannot save you. Stone cannot save you. Only faith can save you." And so, the legacy of Thamud is not in their walls, but in their lesson. That pride builds fortresses destined to fall, but humility builds hearts destined to rise. The story of Prophet Ṣāliḥ and the Thamud is not locked away in history. The ruins of Al-Hijr still stand. You can walk among them even today, but the message is greater than stone and sand. It is about us. Do we take pride in what our hands build, forgetting who gave us those hands? Or do we bow humbly before the one who grants life and takes it in a breath? For Thamud, arrogance was their end. For us, humility, gratitude, and obedience may be our salvation.